Welcome to the JBJ Management Podcast. I'm Willis Johnson, and our guest today is Stephen Ross, who is with AECOM slash
AECOM Hunt slash Trinity Alliance.
So let me focus on that for a minute. And let me tell you why. First of all, thank you for being here, Stephen. I appreciate it.
No problem.
These big acquisitions and mergers, and I remember Hunt being in Indianapolis.
Correct.
Is it still in Indianapolis?
Yes, we have a presence here. We still have a main office here. That's actually where my career started, was in Indianapolis.
Okay.
Over 20 years ago. So they were there. They moved the corporate department to Phoenix, to Scottsdale in the 90s. But we still have the main office there, huge presence in Indy. It's where the company originated. So, yeah, since then it's grown to other markets, have offices obviously here in Dallas, California, Florida, and Arizona.
But it's bought by AECOM.
Correct, in 15. So in 2015, AECOM acquired Hunt Construction Group as its in-house non-union construction division, and Tishman out of New York as the in-house union construction division. So
y'all bear with us on this now. Bear with us on this. We're moving.
So it's AECOM is the mothership, AECOM Hunt, and then you have AECOM Tishman. And there's some other subsidiaries that I'm not all familiar with, but I do work with those three groups. So
there was a video game early in the arcade era called Pac-Man. You know, Pac-Man just gobbled up, just that's what this really sounds like. And so when that happens, what does that do for the team members who was with the original team? And now here comes a bigger dog that comes in and says, okay, you're mine now. Well, do you keep your same job? How does that work?
Good question. So there was a learning curve in a period to where the Hunt Construction Group employees, self-included, had to understand how AECOM operated and vice versa. So we had to find a happy medium for us to exist in, perform at a high level, maximize revenues, things along those lines. So it took a while. It took a couple of years, but for us to fully integrate into one another's system and just way of working on a daily basis. But I would say now we've crossed that hurdle and are figuring out how to truly impact these various communities that we're working in. The stakeholders, the client base has grown tremendously, obviously, over the years due to this. AECOM was historically an architectural engineering firm or powerhouse throughout the world. So this merger, I believe, has been beneficial. It's helped. The Hunt Construction Group was a smaller company. We were nationwide, primarily sports and.
Well, that's all relative. If it was small, Hunt was big.
Hunt was
compare it to some other.
Yes, Hunt was big. It was just a smaller.
It wasn't big as AECOM.
It wasn't big as AECOM. We had, I think, maybe 1,000 employees, right? So when AECOM, I believe, first acquired us, and don't hold me to this, but we went from a little less than 1,000 employees as Hunt to part of a 60,000, 70,000 employee conglomerate.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
It definitely was a little learning curve there, and we were used to doing things our way, and it changed, and we had to adapt.
Well, I don't know if you got married or you got bought, or so. Tell me about the feeling of now being owned by a bigger firm. What does that do? Is there a little insecurity? Is there fear? Is there, okay, am I going to be able to be here? What can I do about my own career now? Because that cloud is over your head.
It's, for me personally, it's been beneficial and rewarding. I've been able to operate within AECOM Hunt and AECOM. I feel as if in a productive manner. I've worked on both sides of the coin with AECOM as well as AECOM Hunt on some larger projects. For me personally, I don't necessarily view it as AECOM is just this cloud. I look at it as they have opportunities that we can utilize our hunt expertise on or for. So in a more of a collaborative approach to things, right? So their architectural and engineers, some of these projects I can lend my construction experience to some of the design things they're doing and sharing with the client, and vice versa. It is, AECOM has allowed, in my opinion, Hunt to, continue to chart the course that we were on. The expectations are substantial, and it's just a matter of satisfying them and working within internally to make sure we're successful.
There was a lady who still lives. I don't want to talk as if she has passed away. Wendy Lopez is iconic in the North Texas area. She had a firm called Lopez Garcia that was purchased by URS.
Yes.
And then she became, I don't know, a division director or something some big muckety muck.
Yeah.
But then AECOM bought URS.
Correct.
And then she became a bigger muckety muck within AECOM. But it all started out as a one or two person operation. Wendy Lopez, she grew her firm to a size and of credibility that a bigger firm wanted to buy her out.
Correct.
As a minority business owner, what are big firms looking for in a minority firm to buy them out?
I would think that it would definitely be performance. It would also be relationships in said market. It would be, in my opinion, a company that has grown as Wendy's did. It's a smaller firm. She was committed to being successful, and the relationships were a huge factor. I'm assuming for her ability to continue to move forward at this rate at which she was doing so. I just think it really all comes down to the people when it's all said and done. A firm could have 2 people, they could have 200 people. If the proprietor of a business or the leader of an organization as yourself, you tend to attract, iron sharpens iron. So you tend to attract talent and people who believe in your vision and what it is you're doing. And I would presume that that's what AECOM or URS saw in Wendy and her abilities. I worked a little bit with her since she's been with AECOM, and she's passionate. I think that just bled over from her, former life in the company she had.
Well, some could be concerned that America is becoming this monopoly. You ever played the game Monopoly? The game of Monopoly is you trying to get St. Charles Place and whatever else it is, and you it's called Monopoly for a reason.
Correct.
When I think about ESPN, ABC, they're owned by Disney.
Correct. That's right.
Even though they're separate entities on the surface, but it's somebody back at the office saying, we're not doing that today. We're not doing that today. We just, I don't want to.
That's right.
So, and then I think about Walmart. Walmart comes into I've watched this for the last 20 years. Walmart comes into a city or in an area, and the little mom and pop shops, they no longer can compete for the hammer the nail, the 2x4s, that kind of thing. Because you now go to Walmart, it's selling everything. But yet America says it's the small business that's the fiber of America. Is it really?
You know, that's a very, very big question, right? It definitely depends on what lane of business we're talking about, obviously. And you know, to me, again, that small. I'm from Ohio, and I'm the, you know, my family were business, real estate developers, and store owners, and different various businesses or whatnot. I think that.
But yet their son works for a big firm.
Right. That's just where I am now. I did start out, you know, my work ethic, a lot of that was developed in that smaller business environment, inner city environment.
Yeah.
And there was a lot of responsibility given to me at a young age. But to your point, you know, America is changing. It's inevitable. It's going to happen. It's been happening. And it's all about the people, whether it's I'm working for a larger firm or not. My mentality has to still be connected to the smaller businesses, the black businesses, the Hispanic businesses, the women-owned businesses, because with all of these projects, like I've always told my staff, AECOM, we don't build anything. We're not in the field building anything. And you have to have a certain appreciation, respect, and approach to dealing with those folks that are doing so, because without them, nothing is constructed. Nothing's coming to fruition.
And I wanted to get to that. So I'm glad you went there, because I remember we had former Dallas Mayor Tom Leppert with us on our podcast. And at one point, he was the CEO of Turner Construction.
Yep.
And I remember talking to him about it. He says his wife won't let him even touch a hammer or a nail. So but yet,
right.
there he is running the biggest construction firm.
Right.
Well, do construction firms actually build, or is it Joe Blow who gets hired by the big construction firm?
So earlier on in my career, when I started with Hunt, we did have a division where we self-performed.
Okay.
Concrete, paving, various things, a lot of it more civil work or structure related. Over time, that has dissipated somewhat, and largely due to our ability to compete with smaller companies, smaller businesses, to put the same amount of work in place. We just weren't as competitive as they were in some areas. And then it gave us the ability to partner and align with these smaller organizations to create a partner, create that mentor-protege type of interaction and relationship. I know that's a word that's thrown around from time to time, but I've actually lived it in, you know, various cities around the country. I've worked in a lot of different markets, and I always took it upon myself to make sure that a smaller business fully understood the scope of work, fully understood the safety requirements, fully understood the insurance requirements, the billing processes, because going back to how my work exposure started in Dayton with smaller businesses. So I kind of integrated the two in a sense and made sure to the best of my ability that these smaller firms were successful, even though they were partnered or working for a larger corporation like Hunt and or AECOM. So it's never, you know, it's our responsibility as, you know, upper level managers in these larger organizations not to ever lose sight of the fact that we aren't building anything.
And so your encouragement to the small business, you mentioned this earlier, is you got to perform. Performance is crucial.
Performance and safety. I would say safety, because you could perform at a very high level. But if it's done in an unsafe manner, it's not something that is going to be received properly. Right? Everyone gets up, goes to work in whatever industry they're a part of, and they intend to return home on that same day. So that's a non-negotiable. It's not negotiable at all.
Stephen, what do you say to the 17-year-old high school junior that next year is going to graduate but has no idea on what their next step would be? What would you say to that 17-year-old?
You know, I would say, think about what contribution you would like to make to your community or to mankind in general. What contribution, what are you willing to give? And look at something that gives you the ability to start down that path. You know, I know everyone wants to graduate high school, graduate college, and make $1 million a minute. Right?
Of course.
Of course, right?
Yes.
That's not realistic. And, I've always been a fan of consistency and longevity and more of a legacy-oriented type of mindset and not just now, right? But we have some interns this summer working with us, and I've just always encouraged them to try. It may seem impossible. Some things may not be easy, but you try, and it's easier to support someone who helps himself. So if you're here since they've been working with us this summer, I've told them, if you have a question, ask. I will help you do anything and everything that I can, whether it's this summer, next summer, whether it's in between semesters or whatnot. Don't hesitate to reach out, but just try. Figure out what it is, what contribution are you going to make out here to society, and not just wait on something to land in your lap where you can have a big paycheck, because that'll come. Don't chase the money. The money will come.
What's the next step for Stephen Ross?
So here in the near future, I'm working on a program here downtown Dallas with DISD for School program. At the same time, you mentioned Tom Leppard and AECOM Hunt, his partner with Turner. We formed a partnership, Trinity Alliance, to pursue a monumental project here in Dallas, which is the convention center. So if all goes as planned and as anticipated and hoped for, I will be able to spend a few years downtown. But in addition to that, one of the passions that I have and I'm involved in is kind of what you mentioned earlier, is taking my time, whether it's on AECOM Hunt's time or if it's my personal time, and the knowledge, the experience I have helping some of these smaller businesses be successful, helping them understand the contracts. I spend a lot of time with people. Everything it's a joke. Everything that I do is not on my team's calendar. Like every call that I take, every meeting that I have, because some of them are last-minute requests, and I'll do whatever I can to help folks engage in this construction business in the best manner possible. And I'm willing to offer that up. So growing smaller businesses, making sure they can compete, making sure that they are performing at a high level, that's really been one of the things I've done for a long time.
Stephen Ross, AECOM Hunt, thank you so much for taking the time to be a part of the JBJ Management Podcast.
Anytime.
All right, we look forward to seeing you on next time.